Good morning. Here, Professor Ravi Kumar from School of Mechanical Engineering, Shastra University, Tanjavur. So today we are going to start with the F1 characteristics as we left with in this lecture. So these are the outline of today's lecture. So we'll be starting with the F1 characteristics, then move for state line vertex, what is state line vertex, then we'll see what is vertex sheet, and finally we'll end up with the Gupta condition, what is Gupta condition. So in previous lecture, we have seen the lift curve slope, how lift varies with the angle of attack, and up to what angle of attack we can have lift, right? And after that, what happens, that is called stalling, and what is stalling, that also we also explained in the previous lecture. So today we'll see the next characteristics as lift we are generating. So there is a disadvantage that whenever we are generating the lift, we have to pay something for it. That is called drag. That is called air resistance. And we have you have already been given some exposure about different kind of drag and how to calculate the total drag. So total drag is summation of all sort of drags. That may be pressure drag, maybe due to viscosity, viscous drag. Right, if you are traveling at very fast speed, that is more than 100 meter per second. In that case, compress due to compressibility, right? Or you can say when your Mach number is approaching one, or it's going one beyond that, right? There is a formation of shock wave also, right? And due to shock waves, right, there will be some drag that is called wave drag. So, like that, if you add everything, that will give the total drag. So, drag is the penalty that we pay for generating the lift on airfoil or over a wing. So total drag, if we say that total drag is a summation of profile drag and induced drag. And induced drag, why induced drag is coming? Induced drag is coming to the flow separation, right? When flow is getting separated and trailing edge, that will cause generation of trailing edge vertices, and trailing edge vertices will induce a downward component velocity, right? Due to which there will be a resistance to the motion of airfoil, and that is known as induced drag. And so we can say the total drag that is D, right? Usually we write in terms of D as a total drag. Total drag we can say D no and plus Di. So this equation that is you are seeing here is basically derived from this. So total drag is sorry D naught plus Di. So where D naught is basically a profile drag, and profile drag is basically due to the shape of the object. And due to shape of the object, what force actually will dominate on this? Only due to the viscosity, right? So boundary layer formation will take place within the boundary layer. Viscous effects will be more, and due to viscosity, how much drag is coming, that will be accounted over here. Also, pressure drag will also come here. Front face and back face. What is the pressure difference, that will also come in the first term. So it will have a combination of pressure drag plus skin friction drag, that is called profile drag, and this is due to the separated flow at the trailing edge, that is called induced drag. Induced drag, and if you divide this entire equation by dynamic pressure, that is half rho v square right into S, that is called wing plane form area, you will get the coefficient of drag. So coefficient of total drag is coefficient of drag for profile plus this is induced drag. Induced drag is given by CL square upon pi E aspect ratio. E is Oswald efficiency factor, already been discussed. So it is having some addition of this. So whenever you are generating lift, right, this term will also appear. If your airfoil is just standing on the ground and was blowing air over it, until it is not getting fully airborne, you will have only profile drag. So if you draw that, the CD versus angle of attack variation will be something like this. So initial, if you look at from negative side, starting from here and up to going to 0 degree, right? 0 degree. Still here, in the case of symmetrical, you will not have a lift. So until you don't have lift, profile drag usually you look at it as at lower velocity. Skin friction drags will be very less. So initially it will reduce, right? And this is the location where you will have a minimum drag condition, right? Here is the minimum drag condition. Then the moment your lift has generated over the airfoil, and as we know that as per this equation, induced drag is directly proportional to the CL square, right? So if my CL is increasing by 1%, my drag will be increasing by 2%. So beyond this, right, there will be a abrupt increase in drag, right? So it will keep on increasing, right, and until the separation, fully separation happens. So fully separation between nearby 16, as I said, in most of the airfoil, whether it is symmetrical or it will be asymmetrical, at or near 16 degree, right, there will be complete separation, right, from the top surface. So stagnation point will move exactly at the leading edge. That is called real stagnation point. That is backside stagnation point will move right exactly at leading edge. So if that condition exists, there will be a complete separation of the top surface. There is no test flow, so that condition will come here. All right. So this portion is basically your representation of this, and after that, immediately this is your induced drag. Because of that, induced drag is coming. The total drag is a combination of fine drag plus induced drag. All right. So stalling, as usual, on 16 degree, there will be a stalling. So if we look at the division of all the drags, right? We can see here. So this is the condition of total drag. Like this line is representing the total drag. That is usually we write like CD. This is the total drag. And induced drag starts from here. So this is basically induced drag. So this is written like induced drag, right? And pressure drag almost, you talk about skin friction drag, which remains constant, right? Almost, right? It's not going to do much increase. So this portion is representing your skin friction drag, which is here, right? And this pressure drag, this John is basically a pressure drag, right? And as we know that even whatever fluid is getting separated, that is also getting separated with the difference of pressure, right? Because backside pressure is low, right? Very, very negative pressure, reverse pressure, because of that separation happened. So this John, which is representing over here, this entire thing is your pressure drag. And from pressure drag, this induced drag is also originating. So this is induced drag, and this John is called skin friction drag, right? Which is very, very less compared to induced
Yes,
drag. Yes.
sir. So both induced and pressure drag, they'll come from separation, right?
Yes, due to the pressure, different separation will happen
Okay.
because backside, pressure will be acting in reverse direction. There is a reverse flow, right? Because of that, separation is happening.
Yes.
So that's why this job starting from here to here, this entire thing is a pressure drag, and this is its friction drag. So this, and if you summarize everything, that is called total drag. So this is the experimental data, right? This is theoretical thing, right? Theoretically, we can represent in this way by a equation. Then internal experiments were done, right, on the foil, and you look at how many points they have drawn. So this entire thing, the behavior is coming similar like what is theoretically we are seeing, right? We are seeing the theoretically what is total drag. Behavior of drag curve is also similar. Experimental curve is also similar like theoretical drag. So these are the drag coefficient values, right? So it is going around 0.024, right? Up to 0.024 it was measured. And this is the movement coefficient, which is almost constant, right? So at present, we are not talking about this. We are talking about only aerodynamic drag. So experimental data also matching with the theoretical one. So there is a condition of minimum pressure drag, right? That is called minimum drag condition, which exists exactly at 0 degree location, and after that, drag increases abruptly. So this was taken from the fundamentals of aerodynamics by John D. Anderson. So next one is LYD. LYD that is also known as aerodynamic efficiency. Second name for this, or also we can say glide ratio. Glide ratio. So LYD is nothing but it's the amount of lift generated by a wing compared to its drag. Right? So compared to drag, how much lift it is getting generated, that will be measured with the help of LYD ratio. That is also known as airfoil efficiency, or we can say that as aerodynamic efficiency. So higher or more favorable LYD ratio is typically one of the major goals in aircraft design. When you are designing the airfoil design or wing design, you have to keep in mind it should give the highest possible LYD ratio, right, when it's coming in operation. So the common, LYD ratio that we are using to this kind of, aircraft, but depends on the type of aircraft for which you are designing the wing. For which you are designing the wing. So look at this behavior of LYD versus angle of attack. So as we know, usually lift will be dominating right over drag because the lift will always be more than drag. So the behavior is similar like what we have seen from curve slope. So it is originating. It's in the case of unsymmetrical airfoil we are talking about. If you are drawing to symmetrical, then you have to start from this point, right? So this general airfoil is cambered airfoil. So it's going like this. A peak will come that is called stalling point where you are getting maximum LYD, right? This is a stalling as usual. So and after that there is a abrupt decrease in lift, decrease in lift. So it will be going like this. So this maximum LYD you are getting, right? Usually we say it will be lying between, this angle will be somewhere between 4 to 5 degree. Between 4 to 5 degree, you will be getting the maximum LYD in most of the airfoil. This experimental data I'm talking about. So between 4 to 5 degree, you will have a maximum LYD ratio. All right, for a given airfoil. Next one is pitching moment. As I said that as we know, when lift is getting generated, drag will also be there. Chances are there will be side force also acting on the airfoil. Because of that, your airfoil will be moving up or down, right? Or may go sideways. So pitching moment we have to talk about. When we are talking about pitching moment, we will be talking about nose up and nose down movement. So that means there is an increase in angle of attack or decrease in angle of attack because of the generation of lift, right, and drag over the airfoil. So if we look at the pitching moment behavior, particularly on a given airfoil, which will be something like this. So if we look at this is pitching moment coefficient, right? So CM CY4 that you are able to see here is basically pitching moment coefficient. Pitching moment coefficient. So this is a pitching moment coefficient, and when we are talking about CY4, that is representing the at quarter chord point, or you can say at 25% of 25% of the chord length. Chord length. CY4 represents 25% of the chord length. So this is a pitching moment coefficient at 25% of the chord length on the airfoil. So if we look at the behavior is almost symmetrical, right? So this is the zone of negative angles, right? This side we are going for negative angle, and this side we are going for positive angle, right? So as I said that if you are going for negative angle of attack, you will have a lift on cambered airfoil, right? It will be negative. If you are going for positive, you will have a positive lift. So as per that, pitching movement also varying. So CM curve, if you look at for curve, it is almost linear, right, over most of the practical range of angle of attack, right? So the slope of that is given by DCM by D alpha, which is known as M naught, which is constant, right? Starting from this point and going up to this point, right? It is almost constant. So this slope is a positive, right? For some airfoil, and it can also be negative for some airfoil. As I said, the two kind of cambers are possible: positive camber, negative camber. So it may be sometimes positive CM and sometimes be negative CM. And this variation is becoming a non-linear, particularly this zone, right? Negative side and positive side, this zone. This is becoming non-linear at higher angle of attack, where flow is getting separated from the top surface as well as from bottom surface. So this is the negative zone. If you're going, separation will be here. If you are going for positive angle of attack, separation will be on top surface. So this zone is representing the non-linear behavior of the pitching moment coefficient. So if you are going at low to high negative angle of attack, when the flow separates from the bottom surface of the airfoil, variation becomes non-linear. So this zone is here. If you are going for very low angle of attack, in that case, again it will become the non-linear. If you are going for very high angle of attack beyond 16 degree, pitching moment coefficient will become the non-linear. It will be the non-linear behavior. But from the moderate angles, right? So all the practical range of angle of attack, pitching moment coefficient is almost constant. Almost constant. Clear? So up to the point you are having attached window, you will be getting the linear variation of pitching moment curve. All right, so these are the four different characteristic of airfoil. It can generate lift, drag, and due to this, variation will come, in pitching moment. And LYD, right? Usually LYD also is one of the important parameter when you are talking about the airfoil characteristics. So with this, your airfoil characteristics is over. So next the topic is your vertex seat. So when you are talking about vertex seat, try to recall the definition of free vertex, what I gave you right in potential flow. Free vertex or line vertex or point vertex. All right. So the line vertex or point vertex, as I said, that a line vertex is basically defined as a string of rotating fluid particles, right? Rotating fluid particles. They will be rotating on their common mass center and taking around them a swirl of moving fluid particles. They are rotating in a common axis. That is known as point vertex. So point vertex, usually you have seen a single point and streamlines will be curved, right? Curved. So point vertex, if you are defining right from potential flow theory, it will be simply a point and streamlines will be something like this. This is known as point vertex. It may be anti-clockwise or clockwise, right? That depends, right, in what way you are rotating that. So I'm considering clockwise, it will have a circulation, right, gamma. So this is known as a point vertex usually. So a line vertex definition, if somebody asks you, line vertex basically will be defined as a string of rotating fluid particles, right? These are spinning on their common axis. Their axis will be common, which is represented by a point if you are looking at the front view, right? Spinning on their common axis and carrying around with them a swirl of fluid particles which flow around in circle. In circle. So let us uh, let us now see. So this is the definition, right? Usually we say. So now we are expanding this. We have seen the front, right? Now we are expanding this to the both side, right? We will go to the infinite length this side and infinite length perpendicular to the page, right? Plus infinity and minus infinity. We are expanding this, and we will try to relate the vertex seat, right? How actually it will behave and what is the effect on any point in the flow domain because of the presence of this vertex in the domain. So let us now expand our concept of a point vertex. So we are extending it right to plus infinity to our side and negative infinity perpendicular to the page. So we are going both side, this side and this side, and all these vertex are having strength of gamma, which is given here. So these are the points O and O dash. O is coming to positive infinity side. O dash is going to the negative infinity side. So this is this single line, one line, right, that we are extending. This is known as straight vertex filament of strength gamma. So like that, n number of straight vertex filament you can put together, right, in the flow domain, and you can induce the circulation in the flow. So this is the only one that we have considered. So now we will consider a point, right, perpendicular to this, right, perpendicular to this. We will consider any point in the flow domain which is perpendicular to this, and over that we will see what is the effect due to presence of this vertex filament in the flow domain. So the flow induced any plane perpendicular to the state vertex filament by filament itself is identical to the gamma. So if you are standing here, right, the strength of circulation will be gamma, which is actually occurring here. The same strength will be coming over here. So this was a single filament, right? If you are simulating, right, more number of filaments, so consider the case of airfoil. So airfoil usually be defined like this, right? So this is the airfoil. So airfoil also generates less lift due to the circulation, right? Due to pressure difference, circulation will be introduced in the system, and circulation will be acting on the surface of the airfoil, particularly on top surface. So basically, this complete the thickness you can reduce. So this airfoil can be replaced by a camber line itself. So this line, as you are seeing, this is nothing but camber line. Camber line usually is the locus of all the point midway between top and bottom surface of the airfoil. Right? That is called mean camber line. Mean camber line.
So all the circulation that will be acting on the mean camber line. So here some amount of circulation will be there initial some velocity, then some amount of circulation will be here. So the summation of all these small vertices, right, will give the total circulation around this airfoil. So on this mean camber line, if you distribute those small elementary, vertices, those can be distributed in this way. So this is the mean camber line, right? So this is the leading edge and this is the trailing edge for it, right? So this is the first vertices, then second vertices like that. You can put a number of vertices along the mean camber line between A and B. So this as small as is any distance along the mean camber line. So consider any distance, right? So elementary distance we are considering. So elementary distance is the ds, and we are drawing a point perpendicular to this, right? This is the point which is perpendicular to this elementary distance that you have considered. And over this point, you will calculate what is the strength of vertex. What is the strength of vertex over here? That you will find it out. So if you are simulating the flow around a surplus land, around the airfoil, you can make arrangement in this way. You can place a number of small vertices along the mean camber line, and these basically when you are placing a number of straight vertex, this is nothing but straight vertex filament. Basically, you are replacing this here. So this combination, right, side by side straight vertex filament combination is known as vertex sheet. Vertex sheet. So we are replacing entire circulation by a vertex sheet on a mean camber line. Mean camber line. So these vertices that you have put here, these are having infinitesimally small strength. So if you integrate, right, the strength from A to B, you will get the total strength of circulation, right, induced in this system. Induced in this system. So we can write gamma is gamma S, right? This is basically strength of vertex sheet that you have replaced. Vertex sheet per unit length, along S direction. You are going here. So this will have only strength gamma into gamma S1, 1.23 like that. You have to integrate throughout the camber line to get the net circulation. We are finding out the net circulation. So you have to integrate. So we can say the strength of infinitesimal portion. Now, if you are saying the strength of this portion alone, which is having length ds, right? Length ds will be given by gamma into ds. So if you are talking about only the strength of this portion, right? Vertices acting over here will be just gamma into ds. This is the strength of vertices, infinitesimal vertices acting on ds. Here, now we have considered a point at a radial distance r perpendicular to this distance, right? And we are going to find out what is the net, circulation acting over this point. So the small induced velocity over this point, smaller induced velocity over this point will be given by the gamma upon 2 pi r, because we know that for a circular streamlines, right, it will be called tangential velocity. So small induced velocity is nothing but gamma upon 2 pi r, or you can say gamma is equal to 2 pi r u theta basically. So dv is equal to minus gamma upon 2 pi minus gamma upon 2 pi r. What is gamma? Circulation of this length. That is already we know gamma into ds. Gamma ds divided by 2 pi r is the small induced velocity at this point. Clear? Now, what is the total velocity, right? At this point, you have to integrate this, right, from A to B, right? From A to B, put a limit from A to B, you can get the net induced velocity at this point B, right? If somebody is asking you what is the circulation, net circulation of this vertex sheet, right? Then you have to integrate this gamma ds, right, from A to B. So if you integrate between A to B, this gamma ds, you will get the net circulation of this vertex seat of this vertex seat, which is given here. This is the net circulation. Clear? So now we need to find out the what we say velocity potential function. Velocity potential function from this velocity, which is given here. It's given here. So you can find out the velocity potential function from here. So d phi is equal to v into theta. Usually we say, so we already we know that is gamma ds upon 2 pi r, right? We can get this one. So you know this u theta. So u theta in terms of phi, how can you write? I gave you a relation, right? Like u r equal to 1 upon r dou phi by dou theta. Similarly, to phi also there is a relation, right? That is called u equal to, you can say 1 by r dou phi by dou theta. 1 upon r dou phi by dou theta. So if you write like here, I'm writing here 1 upon r dou phi by dou theta. If you put this value, that is minus gamma ds divided by 2 pi r. So r and r will cancel out. So d phi is equal to d theta will come here, and same equation which you are getting here. So d phi is equal to minus gamma ds divided by 2 pi into d theta. If you integrate this term from a to b, you can get the net potential function for the vertex C. Net potential function for the vertex C. Clear? Up to here and out?
No, sir.
Okay. Please note this point. This topic is very, very important. So from this, straightforward numerical problems may come, right? They may ask you what is the vertex seat, how to calculate the total circulation on the vertex seat. When you are talking about circulation, you have to consider a small distance, right, on the F1 surface. On that, find out the elementary circulation. That is called, in fact, it's a small strength. Let's integrate that. And from that strength itself, you can find out the loose velocity, right? That is called tangential. That is also known as tangential velocity, basically. So tangential velocity. Using the tangential velocity, you can find out the whatever stream function. Sometimes they will ask you to calculate stream function also. That can also be calculated using the same analogy. Keep in mind. So they may ask you to find out stream function also. Here we have calculated only phi. This is u theta equal to this. Then in that case, u theta is minus dou phi by dou r, right? So dou psi can also be calculated. So this equation that you are getting, this one, so basically we will be using in the classical thin airfoil theory. Classical thin airfoil theory. So the purpose of this is we are reducing the thickness of airfoil and we are just replacing complete airfoil by a mean camber line. So this concept is basically called thin airfoil theory concept. So this equation, particularly phi that you are getting, will be useful in classical thin airfoil theory, right? So that's the one thing. So vertex CT is also over. So as a cumulative, whatever I explained here, something is written here, just go through, right? So E theta is gamma from 2 pi r, then using the relation, you can find out. So this is also corresponding theory is there. This also I'm not covering. So as I said that small vertices are inducing, and due to this presence of small vertices, there will be a small jump of velocity, right? Circulation, what it will do? Circulation will increase the velocity, right, between top and bottom surface. So top or surface velocity is u1, bottom surface it is u2. If it is having some strength, right, let's suppose small gamma, due to which there will be some jump in top velocity. So u1 minus u2, right, like that small distance, you can find out the difference. And corresponding distance, if you multiply, you get the circulation. You will get the circulation. So let's leave this. This is not that much, of importance. Next one is Kutta condition, right? Or what is basically Kutta condition. So Kutta condition, actually, general statement of Kutta condition is that flow should leave the trailing edge of an airfoil smoothly. That means there should not be any kind of generation of trailing edge vertices, right? If such condition exists, in that case, you can say Kutta condition is satisfied. But in reality, that case will not exist for longer period of time, right? Always there will be separated flow. That you cannot actually deny, and you cannot make foil such that there is no telling edge vertices. There will be, but every time when airfoil is traveling from smaller velocity to the higher velocity, a point will come in the flow domain where Kutta condition will satisfy. Right, the moment your Kutta condition is getting satisfied, there will be a generation of circulation in the system. So prior to the generation of circulation itself, your Kutta condition will be satisfied. That means at trailing edge you will not have any circulation. Only on top surface you will have circulation. Right, that condition is known as Kutta condition. So if from pictorial point of view, just look at this is the airfoil, right? So in airfoil, usually not only airfoil, any kind of object which is moving through air will have two stagnation points. One is at the front, one at the back. Front where flow is getting attached, and back where flow is getting detached. So this is the one case at some angle, right? If you are keeping it, you will get one stagnation point here, flow is getting attached, then it's coming like this, and then is evaporating, right? So this is second stagnation point at some value of circulation gamma. Now take another condition at some value of circulation, this rear stagnation point has moved down to the trailing edge, and the front stagnation point has moved down near the leading edge. So this is the second condition where due to circulation, your flow is getting separated exactly at the trailing edge. Look at here. In this case, what will happen? Velocity over here and velocity over here will have same magnitude. If that is the condition, in that case, there will be no generation of vortices. There will be no generation of vortices. But in this case, here velocity will be different and here velocity will be different. Due to that, there will be cross mixing of the flow and the trailing edge, and due to which there will be generation of trailing edge vortices. So here condition is not getting satisfied, but here it is getting satisfied. So now take these two cases. If we just focus over this portion, right? If this is having some finite angle, right? This is making some finite angle with respect to the free stream flow direction. It's making a finite angle with free stream flow direction. So in this case, this point will be a stagnation point. So flow will be coming from here and from this side, and they will be meeting at this single point. So here velocity will become zero, right? Velocity will become zero after coming over here. So at point A, if we are saying velocity will not get any kind of magnitude here. So beyond this, will not have any kind of velocity, which is also not correct, right? In that case, even though Kutta condition is satisfied, but this will create larger negative pressure, right, at the trailing edge. So if it is having finite angle trailing edge, in that case, point A is called what we say stagnation point. If it is a curved one, that is also known as cusp, right? It's a technical term given for curved trailing edge. If you are providing the curved trailing edge, in this case, what will happen? The flow leaving the top surface and bottom surface, all right, are not equal, but still there is no generation of trailing edge vortices, even though they are not equal to zero. So at point A, if you measure the velocity, they will have some value. But they will not generate any kind of vortices. So velocity leaving the top and bottom surface at the trailing edge will be finite and equal in velocity, equal in magnitude. So their magnitude will be same, but they will not be zero. So if you make your trailing edge cusped or curved, In that case, Kutta condition will easily be satisfied. So most of the airfoil, if you just look at, their trailing edge will be cast. So in order to satisfy the Kutta condition, right, for a given airfoil at a given angle of attack, the value of circulation around the airfoil is such that the flow should leave the trailing edge smoothly. This is the general statement of Kutta condition. How to achieve that? If the trailing edge angle is finite, in that case, trailing edge will be a stagnation point. Trailing edge will be a stagnation point. Second, if trailing edge is touched, then the velocity leaving the top and bottom surface, right, are having finite value but equal in magnitude and direction at point A. In that case, your trailing edge at trailing edge, you will get net circulation 0. So if I write gamma value here, gamma here, that is nothing but difference in velocity, right? Difference in velocity. So gamma at trailing edge, if we are writing at this exactly at this point, in this case, will be 0. Clear not? Gamma trailing edge will be 0. This is known as Kutta condition, right? In terms of strength of vertex, right? This gamma actually is equivalent to strength of vertex sheet. So gamma at trailing edge, this statement is known as Kutta condition in terms of strength of vertex sheet. So as a summary, whatever statement I said, I summarize here. For a given airfoil at a given angle of attack, the value of circulation around the airfoil is such that the flow leaves the trailing edge smoothly. This is known as general statement of Kutta condition. So this can be achieved in these two ways, right? If trailing edge angle is finite, then trailing edge is a stagnation point. If trailing edge is cusp, that is called curved, then velocity leaving the top and bottom surface at the trailing edge are finite and equal in magnitude and direction. So gamma trailing edge should be 0. If that condition exists, then we can say that Kutta condition has been achieved. And achieving Kutta condition is essential in order to generate the circulation around the airfoil. That's all. So that's all for today. So if you are having any doubt in this, please start asking now. So your queries, please.
Sir, at the time of like you said, practically when it's going from low speed to high speed, there comes a time when Kutta condition is satisfied. No,
Yes.
sir, at that time drag will be minimum, sir.
Yeah, drag will be minimum because at the trailing edge there is no vertices. So induced drag will be 0. Almost induced drag is 0. So only profile drag will be present.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Drag will not be 0. Keep in mind because profile drag you cannot ignore. That is coming because of viscosity. So some value of drag will be there, but drag will be minimum. Will not be
So
0.
yes, sir. The contribution of induced drag to the total drag will be 0.
0. Yes, at the Kutta condition.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Any other question, please?